Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and tonight I'm joined by Dana.
Hello.
We're back with some more Dawson's Creek Season 3, episodes 3 and 4. So I'll roll the credits and we'll jump right into it. So, how are you after watching these?
Yo.
How are you personally?
I thought actually they were pretty funny, believe it or not.
Okay, the last one, I literally chuckled for like
Yes,
2
I
minutes
thought they
straight.
were actually very funny, but like it's bad enough that they had to sink my ship. They're like pissing on its grave. Like, you know, they like went to the graveyard and just pulled down their pants and just was like, you know what I mean? And that's kind of the one thing is like a little shocking about it all a little bit.
So, episode 3 is titled None of the Above,
Mhm.
and it centers around the PSATs.
Mhm.
Everybody's stressing out, some more than others.
Mhm.
We open with Eve and Dawson having a version of movie night of their own, but they're watching Felicity. Because Eve enjoys TV series more than movies. Same girl.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I kind of like both.
She tells Dawson that he is Felicity. She says you're right at essential casting.
He is though. He's literally a golden retriever guy in a way. Like you ever hear people talk about men in that way, like the golden
Yeah.
retriever boy? Yeah. So that's before golden retriever boy. Central casting.
I guess they're like Netflix and chilling because she's very heavy petting, making out. And he says the thing he hates about TV series is that they always cut to commercial when the good parts start to happen, and it cut right to the opening credits.
I was like, okay, we're going a little meta. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're getting into it a little bit. Like this is like I felt like these are different jokes than in seasons past. Like they're
Yeah.
really, going in a different direction.
Yeah. Um, Joey asks her problematic boss if she could have the night off to study for the PSCTs,
Hmm.
and he initially says yes, but he asks her on a date for Saturday night, like a post-test date, and she says she can't. Um, she jokes that her husband would be mad, and then he's
Yeah,
like, "You could at least said you were washing your hair." She's like, "No, that's Wednesday."
I
And then she says, "I'm a lesbian."
I love how Joey handles this guy. Like in a weird way, he's awful, but for some reason, I feel like she's okay. Like
She
he's
could, yeah,
she can
she can
handle
go,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then she just flat out says, "Would it be okay if I just said no?" And he says yes, but that's not, he doesn't mean
yeah,
it.
yeah.
um, so later, Joey goes to Dawson and asks if she could just have like a movie night, just a
Hmm.
chill night to like take her mind off the test and not stress. And he says yes, and she's like, "How about tonight?" But Eve comes wandering
Hmm.
behind. Apparently, they have plans,
Hmm.
and he tries to invite her along, and Joey's like, "No."
No,
She's like,
she's
I've done this threesome with the blonde before. I'm not doing it again."
like in a different what dimension, universe, a different day, a different time, a different universe, something along those lines. And I was like, oh, but like she's like the stakes are really high for Joey for this test. Like she
Yeah,
could get a full ride scholarship if she does well. So she's feeling it.
they're
And
almost as high as they are for Andy too, because Andy's trying to get into an Ivy League
yeah,
school.
yeah. And
So
the way she comes to Dawson, like I felt like, oh, so this is them like trying to really reestablish their friendship in some way.
yeah,
And this is like that, whenever you have a friend and you've never been like quite hung out with yet, or maybe had like a beef with, and you that first hangout is like crucial. Like that
right,
first time where you could be chill with each other again is
Yeah.
like the first thing. And I was like, so close. It was so
You're kinda walking on eggshells because you,
Yeah.
like, you don't know
Yeah,
how to
everything's awkward still, like,
Yeah,
until you actually have that first natural hang and, like, back to normal, so you feel it's, like, okay to kinda, do the thing,
yeah.
and Eve just slinks up behind him. Girl, I can't.
Um, so Andy and Pacey literally slam into each other, bump heads, her flashcards that she's using to study all over the place.
Yeah,
And this whole back and forth banter felt like how they used to, like, when they first met. Remember, like, she, like, crashed into the cop car that he was driving, and he pretended
yeah,
to be an officer,
yeah,
and they had this, like, banter before they started dating. I was like,
mhm,
"This feels very reminiscent of how they started."
mhm.
So I was like, "I wonder how Dana's reading this. Does she feel like this is the beginning of, like, a reconciliation?" Like, they're
No, no, I'm just hearing what they were saying, like, it see, that's the whole thing, it's like, sure, like, before it was, like, kinda cute because you could tell they were doing it from, like, a crush vibe, but this is, like, they're coming for each other's necks, like, calling
Pacey
each other
is, like,
out.
full out, like, "Slut, you cheated."
It's kind of like there is no filter, like, at all. We're just telling each other kinda, how, like, brothers and sisters can be that cutting to each other
Mhm.
in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's weird to say that about them because they were romantically involved, but, like, they have this ability to cut each other to the bone. And the fact that, like, it's weird to me that Pacey feels so easily ready to kinda really go after her, 'cause I get that he's upset, but, like, she's also still a very fragile human being, so it's kinda like, "Bro, we don't need to go that hard." Like, it's a little merciless.
It feels like he's reverting back to the season 1, like, "I'm
Yeah,
just gonna act the way everybody thinks I'm supposed to act."
yeah,
So he's hurt, so he's coming at her for why he's hurt, which is that she
yep,
cheated, but
yep,
he's doing it in a nasty way, and
yep,
she's hitting him where it hurts by basically being like, "Fine, be a loser."
yeah, yeah,
So they're both
and
just like, "Zing, zing."
yeah, well, that's what I mean, like, it's kind of like it's that stuff when you see like, you read, like, a couple and you're like, "Oh my god, like, don't why are you saying this to each other?"
Yeah.
And their dialogue is like, "I love you," but, like, their outer dialogue is just vitriol and, like, venom, like, spewing, and then they go, "Why did I say it like that?" It was just pure instinct and, so, like, they keep doing it, so it makes it worse, and makes it worse, and
I
makes it
don't
worse.
remember what was said or what scene it was, but there was a moment where they were going back and forth, and I literally was like, I couldn't watch it.
Stop, dude,
Like,
like, it's not necessary to go that hard, like, let them like, I just wish they were just awkward and, like,
yeah,
didn't want to talk to each other, would avoid each other, kinda how, like, Dawson and Joey were in a way, like, how they
yeah,
would just literally see each other and just go the other opposite direction.
mhm,
But no, they come at each other, like,
yeah.
mm, it's wild.
Um, Jack is having a trouble at practice. He feels like the guys are targeting him because he's gay.
Right.
Um, and what's his name? Henry says that I'll help him
Mhm.
if he can get Jen to talk to him.
Yeah, this is so cute.
So basically, the resolution to this is Jack has to like stop thinking about things and just focus on the game.
Yeah.
So he comes up with this word like fug or something, which I'm like, is that instead of fuck? Like fug? And he just says that he repeats that and he kind of uses that just like zero in and like break through what he has to do.
He needs a mantra. Yep.
And Henry decides he's going to use that word, I guess, and he starts running at Jen, and Jen's like, "What the fuck?" But then I guess he chickens out and he runs right past Jen, and she's like, "What the hell is that?"
Oh my god, this boy is the cutest thing in the entire world. Like talk about golden retriever boy again, like part 2. Like a puppy, like a golden retriever puppy boy. Like
Yeah,
I can't even. It's so cute. The way he describes Jen, like how beautiful she keeps thinking about everything,
yeah.
everything about her. It's like, oh my
He's such a
god.
romance. He said something
Her
like,
eyes, her
just the
lips
mere
are
mention
moving.
of her name sets my loins on fire."
It's like, damn. And I love how he feels so safe with Jack just to be like, yeah, man, like she is everything and all the things, like my sun, my moon, my stars, all of it. And Jack's just like, Jen? Talking about the same person?
Right.
It's so funny.
Um, so Eve ends up somehow getting her hands on a copy of the PSET, the exact test,
Yep.
and she gives it to Dawson.
Mhm.
He presents it to the group to
Mhm.
decide what they should do, if they should all use it, if one of them should use it.
Mhm.
But there's an emergency drill. I don't know if it's a fire drill or something, and they all have to leave. And the principal says, "Leave everything the way you like found it." So he doesn't take the envelope with him.
Don't take anything, just drop whatever it is, just leave it exactly there
Yeah.
and leave the building, basically.
But when they all come back in, the envelope's gone.
Mm. Who saw that coming?
Right? It wasn't weird that they went to commercial break and focused on the envelope by
Oh,
itself on the
yeah!
table.
I wonder what was gonna happen to that envelope. Mhm.
So then it becomes a whole who took it mystery.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at the outcome?
Uh, a little and then not. Like, as when I saw, I went, and then went, "Of course it was her."
Right.
I kinda, like, completely went I don't know. Initially, I thought it was Eve, like, kinda just being shitty. Don't know
Yeah.
how, like
I think at some point I may have thought that, not this time, but like in one of
yeah,
the watches,
yeah,
I
I
think I
don't know
thought
why I
that.
initially thought it because of the way maybe it was because the way she was just kinda taunting Dawson a little bit, like, in between about the whole thing, like, as if she did have it or saw who had it and was, like, being super vague, but
I think at some point I also thought the principal found it and he was gonna like
yes, yes,
want them like, "How did you get your hands on this?"
yes.
Like,
Like,
I'll give you 24 hours to come forward or
yeah,
whatever.
I was thinking, like, maybe he came back a little earlier than the kids or was stuck around for just letting, like I don't know. I thought the same thing, but, like so, like I said before, it was very much like, "Oh, okay, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. She is exactly what she would do." Like, she's a my girl is one of those people that is, like, will do anything to get where she needs to go, like, kind of person. She's that, like, go-getter. So
Yeah.
that even means, you know, a
And now
place
she's hyper focused on, like,
that yeah.
keeping her mind, like, on, like, her academic success since it didn't
Mhm.
work out with PC.
Yep.
So now she's just kinda like tunnel vision.
Right, because she's not still even though she went to the facility, probably got some good therapy, coping mechanisms, and medication to, like, get her on a level, it doesn't mean she's cured or that she won't be triggered or, like, it's a lifelong process, I'd imagine. They never really, like, diagnosed her too hard, did they? Like, they didn't flat out say exactly what she suffers with other than
My mind keeps going to bipolar, but
yeah,
I don't know if they actually ever said it.
yeah. So, like, this is,
'Cause she
like
keeps saying, "I went away for the summer and then I got better, so they let me out."
exactly.
Like, you're not
Like,
better, you're just in, like, remission, so to
you're
speak.
coping. You're
Yeah,
currently able to cope and
yeah.
function with your life, you know? So, like, all this is very, like, would yes, someone would do she would do this.
So
Mhm.
she brings a box to school with everything that PC ever gave her, and she
Mhm.
gives it back to him,
Mhm.
and PC just spirals and he gets drunk. Um, Joey is punished by her boss because
Mhm.
she overfilled the tank because she was distracted thinking about the tests and everything, the
Mhm.
stolen test. And he says that gas is going to come out of your paycheck,
A
and you're
week.
working Saturday night now. And she was just like, I like how she came at him and she's like, "Oh, was your ego bruised because I wouldn't go out with you?"
Seriously, like, that's kind of what this feels like, and that's exactly what this is, like
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Um, so Pacey shows up at her job drunk with the box of the stuff, and he trips on something, and everything goes flying into the creek, I guess we'll call
Yeah.
it.
Dawson's Creek.
Um, and he tells Joey to call his dad to tell him that he's not coming home because he can't drive like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then he goes to reach for like the photo of him and Andy because that was like the one thing that didn't fall in the water, and it accidentally falls in the water, and it's just like strategically like placed so that it sinks so you can see
Incredibly
it.
symbolic for their entire relationship, right?
Right.
Like, everything Pacey this whole thing is like Pacey did absolutely everything he could have done. From our point of view, like obviously, like he definitely went the distance for this girl. And for it to come out this way is
Mhm.
and that whole scene is literally it. Like him desperately trying to keep it together, and then it all just goes to shit anyway. Like, ugh.
So then Eve gets in Dawson's head and is like, whoever it is, it's probably the first person you thought of. So then he thinks Pacey because out of all his friends, Pacey's if there's a bad idea, Pacey, you usually go and do it.
But he's such a good boy. Everyone is so mean to him. Like, no, he's a good boy. He does the right thing. He's a good man. He'll be good. And everybody's so mean to Pacey, Team Pacey.
So he shows up at Joey's job. They get into it. They had a few sparring words also.
Yes.
Um, he mentions Andy and her cheating or whatever, and
Mhm.
he meant Pacey goes at him with something like, "Yeah, and you sent your girlfriend's daddy to jail or something."
Yeah.
But Pacey hit Dawson first because he must have came at him with Andy after
Yeah.
that.
Well, he kind of so I think Pacey and there was like a back and forth. What I particularly remember is like Dawson saying to Pacey that like, oh, so like when your girlfriend is as like fragile as she is, and she comes to you for like a small bit of clemency, like a mercy on like to like forgive her, and you completely like throw her away is basically what he accused Pacey of doing to Andy. And then I think that's when Pacey goes and says, "Well, at least I didn't send my girlfriend's dad to jail." And then there's I think Dawson then accuses Pacey of making Andy crazy. And as soon as he says that Andy's crazy,
Uh,
that's when he hits it.
yes. So
Pretty
then,
sure that's what goes on. He says
which
something.
I enjoyed. I actually didn't remember or expect Dawson to hit him back.
Well, I mean, they were going for it, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, again, this episode is filled with people just straight up calling people out, like just straight, just
Yeah.
like full jugular, no baby, no kid gloves, nothing, just straight up fists to faces, literally and figuratively.
So Joey only sees Dawson hit Pacey.
Yeah,
And he's drunk and on the floor, obviously,
yeah,
because he can't rebound as fast.
yes, absolutely.
So she tells Dawson, she's like, because she's already disappointed in Dawson because of his behavior with Eve.
Yeah,
She's very judgy. She has no right to be.
yeah, absolutely. She's messy as hell.
So she makes Dawson get out of there and she takes care of Pacey.
Yeah,
Um, so throughout this whole episode, even though everybody's like stressing about it, it is mentioned that this is a practice exam and you don't have to take it.
the piece it's the it's the first one but before the big one. You know what I mean? Like this is just to give you an idea of how you actually without having to like pay for the test multiple times, find out how you actually are gonna do for the real deal. But I
Joey's dream tricked me. I thought it was real, but then I was like,
see which one, which time.
they were sitting in the principal's office, and I was like, now why would he only bring this group of people in out of the whole school? This is the one group he brings in, and they all have to sit in there. But
Yeah,
then when she got up and pulled the fire alarm, I was like, all right, this isn't real.
yeah. Oh, man. Well, like at the first time though, that in very beginning, like it kind of got me because it was pretty real once she knocked on the door to get to Dawson and he couldn't hear her. 'Cause I was
Uh-huh.
like I was thinking, I'm like, "Girl, don't knock on the door, you're late, you're gonna get in trouble." Like, that's all I was but as soon as she knocked anyway and he didn't hear, I was like, "Oh, it's a dream." Like,
Yeah.
'cause, like, there's no way he doesn't actually hear her knock on the door, like, come on. But so the second time didn't get me because the first time I was like, "Ooh, trickster."
Jen seems the only one that's kinda chill. Like, she's studying, she feels confident. She's like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna take this test."
our girl this is the season of Jen. Can we just say this is the season of Jen? Jen is getting all the good stuff this season. She deserves it. She went through it bad last season. She deserves this. Get her flowers, girl. Get
She
them.
had a nice outfit on, I can't remember what it was. They weren't leather pants, and I'm not even sure they were patent leather pants, but they were black pants, and they had some kinda shimmer to them.
Oh, it could have been like those that jean material where it had like, glitter, like glitter sewn
Oh,
in or like
yes. I think
you know
that's
what
what it
I'm
was.
talking about?
Yeah, I
It
think
could
that's
have
what it
been
was. Yeah.
that.
I was like, "Oh, I remember those outfits."
Yeah. Yeah, man, all the
And
spaghetti
I'm just so happy that they finally got her hair under control. They finally got
yeah,
a style that, like, works for her.
so cute. Yeah, she looks really cute this season, and also, like I said, I feel like this is Jen's season, like, she's gonna be emotionally together, she's giving advice, she's just doing her own thing, holding her boundaries, like, living her best life. I love it.
Yep.
Getting hit on by a younger man can't come on.
So, at the test, Pacey decides he's just gonna leave. He gets
Mhm,
up and walks out, and Dawson follows him, and that's kinda like their makeup moment.
mhm.
That kinda proves that Pacey didn't take the test because, like, he's not taking the test.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I wasn't sure if Joey was gonna get up. I thought maybe she would also to prove that she didn't take it, but she didn't, and I'm like, "Well, I get this is important for her."
yeah.
But that's when we find out that Andy was the one,
Mhm,
because he tells them to all open their tests, and Andy is already filling out the Scantron before she opens her tests because she memorized
mhm.
the answers.
Yeah. And also the way she was doing it, I was like, "Wait," like, 'cause it looked like it was in, like, a diagonal, I'm like, "Is she bombing this?" Like, and then I saw the booklet, like, that she opened up, and I was like, "Wait a oh!" Of course.
Actually, I thought I was like, "Is this Andy's villain season? Is she turning into
Ah,
the villain?"
listen, I kinda thought for a second there that they might be doing that too, like, I kinda had a blip in my heart, like, "They're going to make her evil." Like, that matters to me.
Is she
Not my
turning into Abby Morgan?
It's bad enough that they destroyed my relationship. It's not okay to make, one of my favorites evil. Mm.
Well, I'm glad we got past that episode because I remembered that episode and I remember not liking it, but I enjoyed it more this time. But
Mhm.
also glad that we're past it.
It was one of those I also did notice that, like, Dawson did kinda, like, push Eve away. Like, he told her
Yes.
to leave him alone. Like,
He's basically like, "You just make trouble in my life."
because she does, like,
Yeah.
legitimately. Like, she comes in, causes chaos, and then bounces. Like,
I'm just
it's
like, "Hey, bye. See you next time."
"Oh, well, I'll see you later, and then maybe you'll have sex with me then." And leaves. Like, girl.
I did get a chuckle out of the whole her leaving the apple on his windowsill, like Adam and Eve, like Eve
Yeah.
tempting him with the apple.
Like, so heavy-handed, like, everything is just kind of like, "Hey, a theme. Here you go.
Look what we did.
Look what you did. Look at it.
You got it? You got it?
You get it? The apple for New Eve, right? Who stole the thing? I don't know.
See that clever thing we did? That was clever, right?
Oh god. It's just like, guys, jeez.
So yeah, I think that was pretty much it for that episode.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So episode 4 is titled Home Movies,
Mhm.
and we open with Pacey and Dawson, um, bringing up old videotapes. And did he say not a VCR? What was before VCR?
Oh, I don't know.
I want to say 8 track, but That's music.
No, it was it was a different it was like the competitor to the VHS tape because that was what a VCR
They
was.
said it. I can't remember what it was though.
Yeah.
Um, but
We'll add it in post.
yeah, they end up finding a video of young Dawson and Joey, and I guess that's supposed to be their first meeting because he's like, "Hi, I'm Dawson," and Joey pushes him.
It was really cute, like little baby Dawson, little baby Joey. So
um, so I felt like this episode was like all over the place. Like they were trying to do a lot of things all at once
yeah.
because it's the first game that Mitch is coaching,
Mhm,
with Jack on the team.
mhm.
Dawson is trying to do a documentary on the team having a gay football player that he's going
Yeah,
to FedEx to Gail to run at her news station.
yeah. It's like a people story, like a little something that like his mom asked him to do because like somebody fell through. So she is like,
Okay.
Dawson, this is your chance to kind of like put your name in there in a professional way. So
Okay.
Dawson then chooses Jack because he finds him, I guess, the most interesting, or he thinks he'll be the most interesting.
Yeah. So Mitch isn't really having it. He feels like Dawson's distracting his players.
Yeah,
Let me just get to Saturday, and he's like, it's due Saturday. Like it's
yeah.
about the game. Like I can't like do it after.
Also, I thought it was a little like, "Come on, Dawson, you're telling me there's literally nothing else that you could possibly do a story like a quick little story on."
Right.
Like, you had to pick Jack, and Jack had to be the you know what I mean? Like, this all had to work out that way. There's plenty of other people, you know?
Um, the cheerleaders are raising money, and whoever donates the most, I believe, gets to kiss the head cheerleader. And Jen's like, "Oh no, 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 no,
Yeah.
I'm not doing it."
I love her. Like I said, Jen doesn't take nothing. She's like she was always kinda like this, though, about this type of stuff. To be fair, that's not different about her, but I love it. She does not don't budging. Mhm.
And she ends up quitting. She's like, I quit. I don't want to do this." But rewinding a little bit, before she goes to school, it's I guess Spirit Day, and so like the cheerleaders and the football players wear their jerseys to school. Cheerleaders wear their uniforms, and Jen's wearing her uniform with like her ripped fishnet stockings. And Graham has to be like, "Jennifer, I don't know why you deface your uniform like that." And she's like,
Oh,
"It's an upgrade." And she's like, when I was on the Spirit Squad, she's like, we had pride in our school and we loved bringing school spirit.
mhm.
And she says something to her like, "You wearing the uniform, you were showing off more than your spirit." And Graham's, it's almost like in the ballad when she was like, "Say penis."
Yes. Oh, I love it. This is a classic scene. Like, this harkens back when they first, like we first got to see her grandmother and her interact. Oh, it was wonderful. It felt very kind of weirdly nostalgic. I was like, "Yeah."
I can't remember if it was episode 3 or 4, but
Mm.
Jen was giving Jack advice. I think it may have been episode 3 because Jen was just chilling in episode 3. She was just taking the test. She was fine. So I think it was
Yeah.
episode 3. And I was like, it was almost like she was telling Jack to like believe. No, maybe it was episode 4 because he was like, "Am I supposed to be on this team?"
She kinda tells him to suck it up in a weird way, kinda like
She's like, "There's probably a reason why you were supposed to be on this team, maybe to meet somebody
yeah,
else like you or inspire somebody."
yeah.
Basically, almost in a roundabout way saying you have to have faith, and I'm like, "Did Jen find God?" Because Grams would love that.
In a roundabout way, I feel like she was more of saying, like, you need to just like, you committed, and this is that you need to go through with it. Like, you're
Yeah,
in it, you went through all these practices, you've, like, done all this hard work, this is the time. Because he's getting cold feet because it's like, it's a big show. Like, there's practice and then the game, they're different, you know? So,
right. Oh, maybe it was episode 4 because then she quits. So maybe
yes.
there's this whole quitting theme.
Yeah, like, she
Because then
kinda
he wants to quit. I remember because she was
yeah,
rapping
she's
his
giving him advice in the beginning, like,
yeah.
beginning of the morning. she's like telling him like, listen, you gotta like, you just have to kind of like get yourself up there. Like there's lots of reasons to do it, but you put all this work in and you need to get going. So like just do it. And in a classic Jen way, you know what I mean? And then
Um,
Graham is also talking about, her clothes.
Pacey is so not into this, and he like tempts Joey to cut school. He's like hiding behind like their mascot's like cardboard cutout. And he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, are you like totally into this?" And she's just like, "Kill me."
Oh, see, do you notice how they keep putting them together?
Well, because Dawson asked him to watch her,
I
and
know, but at
now
the
they're
same
friends, and
time,
they bicker a little, but they're still friends.
but they keep getting these little moments of fun time together. Like, just saying.
He's like, "I'm gonna count to 10. I'm gonna round that corner and count to 10, and I'm out of here, and you can join me." So
Yeah.
then he counts, and he's like, "6? Really? 6 seconds? You can even like make it 8?"
Joey doesn't play either. She doesn't suffer him like at all. She's just kind of like gonna do it or she's not.
So they're walking along the side of the road, and he has like a package in his hand. And I'm glad they addressed this because we've talked about it all the time that he just like takes his father's car whenever.
Mhm.
But he says like, "I can't take my father's car all the time." So I'm glad they like actually said something.
Well, thanks for like at least acknowledging that he is a teen.
Yeah,
Also, I would love to like if they would acknowledge how they get into these clubs all the time. That would be
right. And he tells her if to get a ride that she should hitchhike. And there's a car coming, and he's like, there's statistics that show that a car is more likely to like pull over for a woman hitchhiking than a man. So he like dives into the bushes so she can do it. Car pulls over. She starts her whole shtick, and she looks up, and it's the principal, and they just cut school.
perfect.
So the basically comes like stumbling out of the bushes, and he's like, "Oh," he's like, "We wandered off so far from school doing our botanical like project," and the principal's amused at his excuse. He's like, "You're very creative."
Have we also this principal is pretty involved in their lives in school. Have you
Yeah,
noticed it too? Like
yeah,
just 4 episodes in and he's like in almost every scene. You're like, huh, principals are involved in school? Okay.
yeah. Um, he tells him to put down the poison oak and get in the car so he can take him back to school.
That was also a good joke too.
Um, their punishment, he's like, "Since your excuse was so creative, your punishment's gonna be creative," and he puts a box next to them. Did you know what it was? Like, did you guess it?
No.
Maybe because I knew, because I was like, "Oh, the mascot."
No, I didn't until like the next scene when they're like talking about like how they
Who's
don't
gonna be the front? Who's gonna be the ass?
back. I
And
was like,
he's like, "I'm just warning you." He's like, "I have a tendency to throw up in back seats."
very, very convenient, Pacey. Like that's what it felt like. That whole thing was just kind of like, really, you gonna do your girl dirty like that? Like, oh my god! And like, all the worst he's gonna have is friggin' girl butt in his face. Like,
Right.
come on, it's not that bad.
You probably don't remember because it was such a, like, a quick moment, but in the pilot, like, in the very first scene where they're shooting the movie, right before Jen shows up in the cab,
Mhm.
Joey gets thrown in the water by the monster, and it's Pacey, and she's like, "You did it again, you grabbed my ass."
Yeah,
So
I
it's
do
like, it's just Joey's
remember.
ass, not something you've never seen before.
I do remember that, yes. No, I remember that line, and I remember thinking like, "Ew, Pacey, gross."
Yeah,
It's so weird to think like how anti-Pacey I was to how much
yeah.
I love him now.
Now he's perfect.
Now he's perfect thinking, "You know wrong." And that's just him being a little rapscallion. Don't listen to that. He's young and dumb, he doesn't know anything, he's perfect.
So the cheerleaders show up at Jen's house, and she's still asleep, and Grams is with them, like lurking over her when her alarm goes off. And she's like, "I quit," and they were like, "No, it's fine. We have a replacement for you." But
We're fine with
we're like, "But somebody has donated $500, and they specifically requested a kiss from you." And she's like, "No." But then they say that they're raising money for like homeless children, and Jen's like, "Homeless children?" She's like, She's like,
Yeah.
how do I say no to homeless children?
Yeah. It's like parentless children, I think, or
Even
something.
Grandma's like,
Or
homeless children.
yeah. Come on, Jen. You're not that mean.
So Dawson ends up getting a piece put together and mailing it to Gail, but not
Mhm,
without some pushback from Mitch.
mhm.
They have this whole, Dawson feels like Mitch cares about the team more than him. Like he feels like he's the adult in the relationship. He's like, I'm the one that walks in on you having sex. He's like, I'm supposed to be the kid.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the first time he said something like that, though. Like, he said he
Yeah.
was dressing down during the whole divorce thing too, same deal.
And I get where Dawson's coming from because Mitch is clearly like preoccupied, doesn't
Mhm.
even remember that he's had conversation about to Dawson with this, or Dawson has told him about this project.
Yeah,
Um, but he did have a point. Dawson was putting a target on Jack's back,
yeah, and he
by
knew that, yeah,
yeah, which Dawson didn't think about.
yeah, because of his privilege. Mhm.
Right. um, so then the game is happening, and Jack is being like dragged all across the field, and Dawson is sitting with Jen, and he's like, so is this my fault? And she's like, yeah.
In a words, yes. And it was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, tell him. He needs to know.
So Dawson comes up with a plan. He gets into the locker room during, I don't know what they call it, halftime, maybe, for
Halftime,
football.
you got it. You got it.
And I was thinking about the Super Bowl halftime show. So Mitch is about to tell them a story, which apparently Dawson must have heard growing up, so he knows the story. And he comes up with the idea to paint, like, black out the numbers on the jerseys so that the opposite team can't figure out who Jack is. And they're
Yeah.
like, that'll be good for a few plays. But then
Mhm.
when they were playing, I'm like, well, if he's the wide receiver, wouldn't they just know that? Doesn't the wide receiver position in a certain position? Wouldn't they just know to go
Not
after him?
well, yes and no. Like, they kind of can be there's only, like there's certain it depends. So, it depends on, like, what the play is in football.
Okay.
So, like, if you're choosing to throw, then they're gonna be in a different position on the field before hiking the
Okay.
ball. If they plan on, like, giving it to him, because like, in the previous episode, they were practicing him rushing. So, he
Right.
was trying to just barrel through, like, the group of people,
Yeah.
and
That's
that's
when
like
he was like, fug, fug,
yeah,
fug.
that's like a different type of play. So, like, if the coach wants him to rush, he'll be probably closer to the center or like somewhere near the quarterback so the quarterback can easily just shove the ball into his chest and then he can try to just take off with it. So, like, that's kind of the receivers can kind of move up and down the line of scrimmage, but just they can't cross it before the ball's hiked into the quarterback's hands. Those are the rules of football.
Okay. I don't like football, so
Yeah. Okay, Philadelphia Eagles all day. That's injected green into my veins, like, so the only reason why I know, otherwise
right.
I wouldn't. But, yeah, so, like, the whole strategy essentially is to kinda camouflage him so people wouldn't focus on him, or they can't focus on him, and that way Jack can kinda actually play the game fairly,
Right.
you know what I mean?
So they say that it'll only work for a few plays, and then Jen comes in with the cheerleaders, and the
Mhm,
plan is to put lipstick and blush, I guess, on the guys
mhm.
so they
Yeah,
can't tell which one's Jack.
yeah. So, like, even
Um,
when they cover the letters, like, everybody looks the same in the visor, like, when they're looking at
yeah, so
them.
the opposite team looked like cavemen. They were like, "Ooh?" Like they didn't like they were like, "What's
Why
happening?
is
What am I looking
everybody why men wear makeup? That's weird. Why men wear makeup? That's weird.
at?" And Henry's like, "Find the homo now."
Yeah, yeah. That was actually pretty cool that, everybody was willing to go the distance like that to
Yeah.
protect, Jack. It was nice to see, because I was concerned because he did say like, when he went to Mitch, he's like, "They're coming" like, his own teammates were giving him a hard time, like, because he's gay, and he's like, "I know you think that, but that's not it." He's like,
No.
"It's because 'cause you're the new guy." Like,
Yeah, it's
it's
a
because
general
you
hazing
literally
thing.
just walked onto the team,
Yeah,
and they have to give you a hard time, like, it's kind of like what happens when they're bringing you in,
right,
and I was hoping that that was the case. Like, that wasn't just Mitch having, like, hopeful thinking, again,
right.
like, privileged thinking that was you
Dawson
know?
gets that from somebody.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it was nice to see that them they actually, like, go along with this plan, not just to win, but to, like, because Jack was getting destroyed out there, like,
Right.
nonstop. It's not easy to get hit like that.
So they end up winning the game, and I guess it was the donator, right? The highest donator got to, like, ride on, like, the mascot and then kiss Jen. What if it was a girl? Would Jen have to kiss a girl?
I don't think Jen would care, but
Yeah, I don't think Jen would care, but, like
yeah, I think it was more like Jen cared about being someone that had to be forced, like, for money, like a prostitute or seen like a prostitute some way. But
Yeah.
when it's for parentless children, you gotta do it.
So
Um,
earlier there was a scene where, Henry was showing the team, like, some professional football players, like, mouth guard that was thrown on the field, and he went and retrieved it, and it's, like, his lucky charm. And when Jen, like, approached the group, he, like, couldn't speak words anymore, and she's like, "That's gross." That's somebody else's
but
mouth guard. She's like, "That's gross."
wasn't he wearing it in his mouth, or was he just have it in his pocket? Because when he showed it to her like this, I thought, like, because I would looked away for like a hot second and came back, I thought he had it in his mouth, and I was like, huh,
I don't think he had it in his mouth. I remember him saying something about the premolars and, like, pointing to his as if they would look the same. I don't know.
oh, there, because I guess I'm saying is I wouldn't blame Jen for being like, ew, gross,
Yeah,
because it is kind of gross. Even though this boy's sweet and
yeah.
adorable.
So he was the one that donated the $500.
Mhm.
She realizes it's him once the mascot collapses. He takes his helmet off, and she's like, "Where did you get $500 from?" And apparently, he sold this mouth guard for $500. And she's like, "You did that just to kiss me?" And she thinks it's, like, sweet.
Mhm.
So everybody's, like, cheering, like, "Kiss, kiss, kiss, kiss," and she's like, "Come here, freshman," and she, like, lays it on him, and he's all, like, butterflies and
Yeah,
music and, like,
rock
fairy tale.
his world. He will never forget this day. It is the single best day of his life. Like, the year of Jen. This is
But, okay, so this is where I literally was chuckling because I did not remember this at all. They announce, because Jen's like, "Okay, I kissed him. I'm not on the cheerleading squad anymore. I'm done. My dude, everybody go home." And then the principal's like, "No, no, no, we're not done yet." He's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you our nominee for homecoming queen, Jen Lindley." And they put, like, the cape on her in the crowd, and she's just like with her like I remember her running for homecoming queen, but I didn't remember that this was how it happened. I thought it was just part of her being the cheerleader. I didn't remember that she quit, like
Oh, well, it's been a
but,
while.
like, this was a
Alright.
surprise to me. I was hysterical laughing for, like, 2 minutes.
I loved how uncomfortable she felt, and then weirdly like, okay, I mean, like, I know, like, it's just one of those things where it's just like, "I can't believe this is happening, but I'm gonna stand here and enjoy it, I guess." Like,
She's like the epitome of I'm not a joiner, I'm not a
yeah.
participator, and she's literally being thrown into these situations where she's, like, the most popular girl in school
Season
now.
again. It's the season again. This is what they're making up for all the nonsense they put that poor woman through season by giving her all this wonderful stuff. Like, this just to me, it was very cute. But at the same time, I also think that like Jen was kind of like, that moment where you kind of almost like let it in, even though you're like I don't know, a goth kid that doesn't like to join anything and a social outcast, if you will, or whatever, you want to, it's like I'm dark, I'm the darkness.
Yeah,
She let
I'm the darkness.
like, she let the light in just a little bit. That's kinda what it felt like. Like, she let the light in just a tiny little bit, because like, towards the end, like, I don't know if that's how Michelle Williams wanted to play it for her, but she kinda, like, smiled a little, like, "Oh, they like me. They really like me."
Oh, I
Like
didn't read it like that. I felt like she was just trying to do it to appease them, like, "Oh,
like,
thanks."
oh, just kinda like, "I'm gonna smile. Is this right? Why
This is
am I
great.
smiling, right?
Thanks.
Gonna keep smiling. How we going?" Yeah. That's probably true too, but I would like to think she let the light in just a little
I
bit.
call those her Daria moments where she's just like as things are happening to her,
I
she's
got it.
standing there.
Thank you. Well, the cheerleading thing was pure hilarity just because you know she would never.
Right.
This was kind of one of those moments where it was like those things that you never thought would ever happen to you, and when it does, you kind of like weird you appreciate for 1 second, but you're incredibly awkward about it. Like, whenever I, like, won anything or got an award, I almost end up telling everyone how much I hate them in, like, gratitude. Like, "I hate you guys. Why'd you give this to me? That's so messed up. You guys are not cool." And it's, like, the most incredibly nice gift or award or somebody recognizing me for something good. It's
Uh,
like you wanna tell everyone how much you hate them because they did this to you, you know? But you still appreciate it, like, genuinely.
yeah. Well, Jen does have a history in pageants. We know this from season 1 because
Yeah.
she helped Joey when she was in the pageant.
Yeah.
So she should do well at this.
Well, I think also it's like this is probably maybe a life she envisioned at one point for herself, but after everything that happened, it felt like that was dead. That Jen never like, that Jen died, like,
Yeah.
not but this kind of, like it's shocking,
Yeah.
probably, like, "Oh, that's what I didn't ask for any of
Look
this."
at me and I
Like,
have to be a kid and, like, have a high school experience.
"Oh, you're gonna make me go to prom next?" Like, "Oh, you're gonna make me do
Prom
observe
queen.
your atypical high school experience? Lame."
Um, Dawson also gave Joey the tape so she could watch them, and they tricked somebody into being the mascots, Pacey and Joey.
They
I don't know
did.
how. We see that it's, like, these 2 underclassmen. They're like,
That
"We
was
shouldn't listen to them."
that was hysterical, I love that little bit, like, just like, "We should never trusted them."
Um,
Whatever lie they told him, I wish there was, like, a cut scene of it. So oh, they better reference
Pacey totally was, like, the head of that.
absolutely, absolutely. I just wish we get, like, a reference later on to, like, "Do you remember that time when we told so and so something to get
Right.
them?" Yeah, that's what I want. Mhm,
Um, so Paisley brings Joey to, like, a boatyard,
mhm.
and apparently he bought this broke down boat for, like, 200 bucks, and he's gonna, like, fix it up and sail around the world on it. That's his plan anyway.
Aw, Lucy.
And she's like, "It's a little small to sail around the world," and he mentions, like, Gilligan's Island, like, the SS Minnow was big
That is
enough for all of
not
them and everything.
not a good analogy.
No. So then he has the package that he had with them when they were walking, and it's the name of the boat, and it's True Love, and I was like, "Oh, he still believes in love." So then he tells Joey to start sanding, and she was like, "I hate you."
I really just oh my god, I can't. They keep stabbing at my ship. It's dead already, okay? Let it lie.
Oh, and Andy was like she, like, bumps into somebody from, like, the testing board, and she started to get real paranoid, and she was about to, like, admit that she stole a test and cheated.
Mhm,
She thinks the principal wants to talk to her, and she thinks that's why,
mhm,
and she's all worked up. She's, like,
mhm.
um, venting to Jack and kinda, like, putting that on him, and he thinks that she's talking about him, but she's talking about herself.
Yeah. She's not talking about him at all.
And then the thing that the principal wanted to talk about was her being on some, like, disciplinary committee,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "You want" I was like, "She wants to be on a disciplinary committee when she did that thing.
Well, they don't know that. So, like,
She
when
knows that.
well, she knows that, but, like, she's okay, so that whole thing kinda, again, makes me feel like, just like you said before, are they trying to put Andy in this, like, villain era, which I am not for, I don't want it, but, like, there was this moment, like, where the turnover from when she realizes that she's no longer, like, that she shouldn't confess, 1, and 2, that, like, they're gonna set her up with it's not what she thought. The way she flipped immediately from, like, this very, like, guilt-ridden, like, sad individual to, like, "Oh, perfectly fine,"
Yeah.
was bone-chilling in a weird way, because like, it was, like, sitting there, like, she was really ramping herself up. She went on a whole speech into the mirror about, like, what she's going to say to him and everything, and then went from that to, like, "Oh, never mind. I'm great, actually."
Yeah.
Like,
And
and
Jack was like, "Are you okay?" Because of everything she said to him, and she's like, "Yeah, no, it's fine. Everything's cool."
I'm good. No, actually,
It's
just
almost like she's like, "I got away with it. I'm good."
yeah, basically, like, that's what I mean. Like, it's kinda like, "Oh, ho,
And,
did not change."
I can never remember every time I watch this if this is it or if there's repercussions. I never remember.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just the fact that she's definitely different. She's
Mhm.
not the same. She's not the same person. Like, and also, like, that whole speech when she was talking about, like, "I met a guy," like, like, the way she felt about him or he understood her. It's like first you're thinking, oh, maybe is she talking about that guy? What was his name, Mark or whatever? And then like the way she describes it at the end, it comes around to kind of being pacey.
Yeah.
But there was just like these moments where you're never 100% sure.
Right.
And so, what are they doing to her? It's so upsetting.
Joey watches the tape of her and Dawson as kids,
Mhm.
and you see her being pushed on a swing by someone who I assume is her mother,
Mhm.
and they didn't focus on that. I thought Joey would have a reaction to seeing her mother,
Mhm.
and they didn't
Yeah.
focus on that at all.
Maybe they're dropping it
Hmm, maybe.
because it was a pretty big deal, you know. The
Yeah.
first season and stuff, so
Um, I thought it was cute, like, when the episode ended and you see, like, the producer and it's like, "Bye, Dawson. Bye, Joey," like, the kids
yeah,
saying
yeah. It was really cute. Those little videos were really cute.
Um, and that was it,
So
right?
you yeah, do you think Eve's gone for good?
Oh, yeah, that's right, Eve wasn't in this episode, we got a break from her.
He yells at her
Um,
and she goes away and
well,
she
I
does
know she's not gone for good.
I don't think she's gone for good either, but
But I did kind of, like, scroll through the episodes for the rest of the season, and I don't see any clunkers in there. I feel like we're going forward, every episode's gonna be entertaining and fun.
oh
So,
boy.
yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
I don't know what's I'm so
I think we're gonna have a good time. I think there's gonna be some laughs.
oh, yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. It's like for all of the slaughter that the utter travesties that they've done to my ship during these episodes, they're very funny. Like I found myself going, I'm like, "This is so silly, like absolutely unhinged. And I like that. I think it needs it because if they're talking about some, that's the thing about this other episodes. Like you were saying, it felt very like full because it was like they were trying to like back in a storyline about Jack and him being gay and like how people are treating him on like football field, plus the situation with Dawson and Mitch.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole dynamic. Some of these things could have been
And then
episodes all on
Andy with the
their own.
like, afraid
Yeah,
about getting caught with the test,
yeah,
and then
exactly. Just so
the
many things.
whole comedic subplot of Joey and Pacey and the boat
Yeah,
and
I
and
mean,
cutting
like everything felt like it could probably like maybe two of the storylines could have probably been perfectly fine for one episode. Like it was so many things were happening all at once and trying to keep track, but not. I'm wondering if all of the things are kind of going to pay off. Like, will we actually see the boat again? Like, will be something that actually comes back? Like, will Mitch and Dawson? Is that it? Is that the only time that they have any like kind of you know, back and forth, or is this a through line? Like, it's kind of like, where's the through line plot gonna be?
Right.
Is it Eve? Is it Joey and Dawson again? you
I
know,
think as long as Gail is away, we're gonna see a lot of Mitch because he's, like, the sole parent at this point.
sure, yeah.
I wanna see more Grams, though, not more than one these, like, quick one scenes. Like, I wanna, like, actually, because I like the banter between Grams and Jen,
I want
so
her to infiltrate the kids' lives a
yeah.
little. The principal's an interesting ad. I feel like I've seen him, the actor,
Oh,
before.
yeah, he's been in everything.
Been
Everything.
it feels like he's in all kinds of stuff, and I like the way he interacts with them. He's better. He's been like one of the better teachers of the series so far. Everyone else has been kind of jerks a little
We're
bit.
gonna meet his daughter, she's a student,
Cool.
and she's gonna be played by Bianca Lawson, who has been playing 17-year-olds for 30 years now.
What ages?
She was on
Uh,
Pretty Little Liars, and she was, like, 40.
yeah. Oh wow. Really?
She
Pretty
started
little
out on Saved by the Bell, the new class in, like, 1993.
nice. Nice. Well, I mean, I enjoyed myself. It was a good time.
Yep. You have anything else to add before we wrap it up?
Just like I do at the end of every time we do these. I don't know where it's going on. And I don't know where we're going. I just need to leave Andy alone. And my boy Pacey. Like, let him have some happiness. 2 episodes of sadness. We don't need it anymore. Leave it.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for another edition of Dawson's Creek. As always, you can find us on all the socials and on Patreon at Queers and Soaps. And until next time, have a great night. Bye.